All right, sweet. Flatline MMA podcast episode number 72. Let's just get right into it. Really good fight card last Saturday night, UFC Vegas 23, headlined Marvin Vettori, originally scheduled to take on Darren Till. Darren Till pulled out due to a rib injury. The man, the myth, the legend, Kelvin Holland steps in on short notice. It literally feels like I think Kelvin Holland fought like 2 weeks prior to this, stepping in to fight the killer Marvin Vettori. But this card had some great, I'd say some great fights on. The main card was filled with, I'd say some like up and coming stars that definitely position themselves within their respective rankings as potential killers here. So let's just dive right into real quick. We're just going to touch upon these. We had Mike Perry coming back, taking on Daniel Rodriguez. Daniel Rodriguez just putting on just a show against Mike Perry, right? And Mike Perry, I'm not saying he's the most high level guy, but definitely a big name. So Dan Rodriguez just putting on an absolute clinic, unanimous decision against Mike Perry. I mean, Perry didn't have any answers. He looked slow, flat footed. I'm curious just to get your thoughts on like Mike Perry's just digression in his past like 3 fights. Like, I don't know. You don't have to dive deep into it, but like, I don't know. What do you think of Mike Perry now? And like, do you think he's done in the UFC? Like, is he a Bellator product now? What do you think's happening with him next?
Yeah, he's got 1 fight left on his contract, and I think he's going to have to make some sort of statement to really stay in the UFC. I think, is this a 4-fight losing streak for him or a 3-fight, something like that?
This might be 4. It is. No, so it's realistically only 2 because he beat Mickey Gall.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would have been a 4, but yeah, only 2-fight losing streak. Tim Means and then Dan Rodriguez.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like ever since, he decided to have his girlfriend in the corner and he kind of got away from, having the coaches and stuff like that. I don't know. I think maybe he just needs a new team around him, new coach, something like that, something to refocus him. Because we saw, a bunch of stuff on social media. He was kind of going nuts, getting into fights with people outside the UFC, in bars and stuff, and had some stuff going on in his personal life, which, could be affecting what's going on with him right now in the UFC. But yeah, he's definitely gonna. I would think he's probably gonna have to make a statement in his next fight to get renewed in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, we all know how Dana is, and I know Mike Perry. I wouldn't say now, but I think before Mike Perry was knocking everyone out, he was brash, he was loud. I definitely think he was bringing in the views. I think now people are just getting kind of sick of his antics and the whole situation with the corner and all that stuff. But let's not take away the fact that Daniel Rodriguez looked phenomenal, just controlling the fight from round 1 to round 3. So definitely someone to look out for in the welterweight division. I'm excited to see this dude fight. So good one to start off the main card there. And then we had a pretty high profile one, women's strawweight bout. We had Nina Nunes, the wife of Amanda Nunes, taking on Mackenzie Dern, who Kenzie Dern has been kind of on a rocket ship ever since she's came to the UFC. I know she had that one, skid versus Amanda Ribas, but she's been on a 3-fight win streak, taking on Nunes, who's tough as nails, right? We're not going to say that she's as good as her wife, Amanda, but tough as nails. And Dern, light work, armbar round 1. She's just looking better and better in every fight, right? Do you think she's ready for kind of the top tier of the strawweight division, or are you not convinced yet? Especially with that loss to Ribas on her record, and we saw what happened to Ribas in her last fight.
Yeah, no, I think she's totally ready. There's definitely no question in her ground game, as most of her fights. I think all of her wins have been by submission. Yeah, we got a small glimpse into some of her striking. It did seem a little rushed at some points, but on the feet, I think Dern was winning that fight as well up until the takedown. But yeah, I mean, it looks like she's progressing a lot as a fighter. Still relying a lot on the jiu-jitsu, but it's getting her the wins. You know, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I think she's definitely making a name for herself here, right? Like she's definitely in the position where she's going to start getting these bigger fights, these top tier, like top 5 people, right? And there's nothing but killers in the top 5. So I'm not going to lie. I have no idea how she's going to stack up against someone like a Carla Esparza, a Joanna, a Rose, a Wei Li, right?
Mm-hmm.
But only time will tell. Her striking is definitely getting better, but is she on the level of like Esparza? Obviously, she's not on the level of Joanna in terms of striking, but this game is crazy and anything can happen. So not sure who they're going to throw her in next as the new ranking. She skyrocketed into the top 5. So she is now number 5 in the world in the strawweight division. So she's only going to get a big fight next. So curious to see what Dana wants to do with her. Obviously, she's a rising star in this game. So shout out Mackenzie Dern, great win. Touch upon this one real quick. Julian Marquez, another someone who has been fighting pretty recently, getting it done versus Sam Alvey via submission. This guy's looking good every time he steps in the octagon too. So he's someone to look out for in the middleweight division. Always a banger when Marquez steps into the octagon. 1, 2, I think a lot of people were excited about co-main event, featherweight division. We had 2 rising stars here. Arnold Allen taking on a Sadiq Youssef. Sadiq Youssef, kind of a Dana White Contender Series guy. I believe coming in with a really, really good win streak. Good everywhere. Taking on Arnold Allen, who's coming in 7-fight win streak in the UFC. In the featherweight division, 7-fight win streak. This one was like bound to be good. I thought it was great from opening bell to the final round. I thought Allen just did a really good job at really utilizing his tools everywhere, on the feet, on the ground. This kid's impressive, man. And trust me, if I was picking in this, I was picking Youssef all day because I've seen Youssef fight. He's an absolute animal. But Arnold Allen just looked overall, man, like he was just he was great at everything that night. Utilizing the takedowns, wearing on Youssef, knocked him down, right? I think both these guys definitely gassed a little bit, but Allen had the better gas tank and ended up getting it done via decision. So real quick, what'd you think about this one?
Yeah, like you said, we've all seen Yusuf fight. He's got some crazy power in his hands. He's really explosive. When it came to the standing battle, I didn't think that Allen was really going to be able to compete, but he actually won most of the exchanges.
Yep.
He had, he had a knockdown that you mentioned, but he also had him wobbled twice. I think I don't know if he knocked him down with the head kick, but there was a head kick that landed that was pretty good. And then he had, I think it was a spinning elbow maybe.
Yep.
That wobbled him as well. Had opportunities to finish the fight, wasn't able to do it in the 15 minutes, but he got pretty close. So it was an impressive victory for Allen.
Yeah, I mean, now on an 8-fight win streak in the UFC, claimed the number 8 spot in the ranking. So I mean, he's just got a laundry list of killers ahead of him. Every fight you put him in is going to be a fun one. So especially after seeing the tools that this kid brings, I am excited for him. Right, 17-1, 8-fight win streak in the featherweight division. This kid is definitely a rising star within not only the division but the UFC as a whole. So fun co-main. We all knew that one would be. So let's get to the main event. Middleweight bout. I know we said it before. Marvin Vettori taking on the short notice replacement Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, I was predicting him to win this fight. I thought he was going to come back, resurgence, right? His last performance against Brunson wasn't the greatest, but he was taking on a guy, Marvin Vettori, who, on a nice little win streak here. I believe he was on a 3-fight win streak coming in, 4-fight win streak coming in. Sorry about that. Most recently coming off a win of Jack Hermanson, who Hermanson is an absolute savage. Kevin Holland coming off of a monster 2020, all the momentum, 5 wins coming off that loss of Brunson here. And Marvin Vettori just dominating on the ground, 11 takedowns, which was, I believe, the middleweight record. Holland looked good on the feet. He always looks good on the feet. He's flashy. He's quick. He's just explosive. But when it came to just stopping those takedowns, he had no chance. And I apologize to all the Flatline fans for me saying that Kevin Holland has great takedown defense after he fought Jacare. So that's on me. But man, Vettori just made it look easy in there and just dominated his way to another decision. It seems like, Vettori doesn't finish people often, but he is dominating his opponents. So break this fight down for me.
Yeah, that was the story of the fight. It was just Vettori getting the takedown, controlling the majority of the round, and then whenever it came back to the feet, Holland took full advantage of the time that he had. Um, landed some bombs with his hands, landed some kicks to the body, but his hands were the real tools for him in that fight. But when you're getting taken down and controlled 3 minutes around for 5 rounds, it's hard to win the fight. So even though it looked like he gave a pretty solid effort, it wasn't really like the Brunson fight where he was joking around a lot of the fight. He still did his talking bit and whatever, but you could see the amount of effort he was putting in when they were starting the rounds off when he was on the feet. Yeah, there was one point in the fight too that I thought they might have been close to stopping it because Holland's eye after every round was completely closing up, and I don't know what they were doing in the corner. I don't know if it was the ice or whatever, but they'll open it up just a little bit,
Yeah.
so he'd be able to fight the next round. But it seemed like from like round 3 on, he'd walk back to his corner with his eye completely closed, and then he'd start the round off with just a little bit of vision there. But yeah, I mean, a lot of adversity. He fought to the final bell. He's just gonna have to work on that wrestling, and that's something that he knows is a weakness in his game. But I think once he gets that figured out, the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, I mean, his hands look so good. So I agree. He said he's going to go back to the drawing board, maybe hang out with DC a little bit, get some wrestling tips. And man, if he goes to like, AKA or something like that, man, and he just trains, and I think he should take some time off, right? Like the dude fought 5 times in 2020, twice already in 2021, and we're only in April, right? Like give this guy some time off, get him into the wrestling room. And I agree, this kid can be a future contender in this division. I know this kind of sets him back a little bit, but he also took on Marvin Vettori, who's just boosted his way up to number 3 in the world, right? So he's no slouch. He's an absolute monster of a middleweight, right? Took Israel Adesanya all he had to beat him, right? Which brings my next point, Vettori, right? Like I know he took on at the time Holland was, I believe, number 11, right? So or number 10. Does this put Vettori in a good situation where he can kind of sit out and maybe wait for a title shot? Does he take on maybe the winner of Whittaker Gastelum this weekend? Like, where do you see Vettori play out in all this? I know he's already fought Stylebender once back when Stylebender first came to the UFC, a really, really close split decision. So I think people want to see that run back because he's a guy that he's going to take you down. He's going to use some ground and pound. Like I think people want to see Izzy against that adversity again. But I don't know. What do you think Vettori goes from here? What do you think he does?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely in that conversation for that next being the next one at the title. I mean, that all the guys at the top have also lost to Adesanya, but Whittaker's been knocked out. Costa was knocked out. The Gastelum fight was a great one, but I think with the win streak that he has and the fight that he had with Izzy, I think he's got a pretty good case to get him that title shot. But there are a few guys. I mean, Darren Till's right there, kind of in the wings too. Yeah, that's a fight that I know the UFC really wants to make. Izzy and Till. Brunson looked good in his last fight, but again, Brunson also lost to Izzy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think I'd have to say I think that's probably the fight to make when you look at the top, top 10 pretty much. I think Izzy's either knock those guys out or they're coming off losses, and Vettori's the only one that's neither of those things apply. Hasn't been knocked out, lost a decision, and he's on a win streak.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, so many good fights to make there, and I think Vettori definitely earned his rematch. I wonder where this puts Darren Till and like what's going to happen with him next. I know he had to pull out due to injury, but I'm curious to see what's going to happen there. I think this is pretty good transition into next weekend's fight. So this Saturday night, another middleweight clash. We're gonna have a good one, man. UFC Vegas 24. Let's just go through the main event here. We have Robert Whittaker taking on Kelvin Gastelum. Robert Whittaker bouncing back 2 straight wins from his loss to Israel Adesanya, beating Darren Till via unanimous decision, and then beating Jared Cannonier via unanimous decision as well. So he's looked great in his last 2 fights. Obviously, Whittaker is someone that held the interim belt and then held the real belt for a little bit, got into, wars with Yoel Romero, has fought everyone in this division, and then ran into Izzy, who unfortunately knocked him out there. Taking on, I think you want to look at the complete opposite, right? You got Kelvin Gastelum, who, is finally getting that win, coming off a 3-fight losing streak to Israel Adesanya, Darren Till, and then Jack Hermanson, right? Finally getting a win over Ian Heinisch a few months back. This fight, who was originally scheduled for this fight? Because I feel like Kelvin's stepping in, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, I believe so. I'd have to look that up. I forget who was originally scheduled for this one. It wasn't Costa, was it?
It was Costa. Yes.
Was it?
It was originally, yes, you're right. It was originally Whittaker, Costa. Costa had to pull out. Kelvin Gastelum comes in because I was like, this fight doesn't really make too much sense, but that's why Costa. So, this is Kelvin's chance to kind of redeem himself for those prior 3 losses, right? Obviously, coming off of a win over Ian Heinisch. Heinisch is an absolute stud beast. But if he can beat a guy like Robert Whittaker, former champion, man, he makes this conversation look a lot different. Because now maybe do you have Vettori and Gastelum go at it if he wins, but that's if he gets it done. Whittaker has just looked so good in his last 2 fights, and I feel like he has been overlooked in both the Till fight and the Cannonier fight because of his loss to Izzy. But he's looked better than ever, especially that Cannonier fight looked great, looked phenomenal, and Cannonier was on an absolute streak of just knocking everyone out. But Whittaker just showed why he's championship material, why he was a former champion. So, for me, easy decision here. I think Whittaker is going to put him away. I think he's going to make a statement, and I think he's going to call Izzy out again for the rematch, which we'll get to that after. I want to ask you if you would like to see that again, but give me your prediction real quick.
Yeah, I'm going with Whittaker too. I think when it comes down to toughness, that nobody can beat Whittaker. And Kevin Gastelum's kind of, he's also kind of like the same type of guy where, they like to make the fight dirty, get into those tough spots in the fight, push their opponents. But I think when it comes to Rob Whittaker, the only way you beat him is like a Adesanya, someone who's a specialist. But when it comes down to actual fighting, like the overall game and just being tough, I don't think anybody beats Whittaker.
Agreed. And he's just so top. One of, I think, fan favorite in the UFC. The way he just presents himself, talks. He's a fan favorite there. And then last question for this. He gets it done. Does the Adesanya rematch interest you at all? Because of the way the first fight went and really didn't have any success in that fight. But obviously rematches go different all the time. Where do you have interest in that fight?
I honestly don't right now anyway. I think that I like the way Vettori's looked. I like the fact that they fought before and it was a pretty competitive fight. I think all these guys that Izzy is knocked out, it feels like too recent for me for some of these guys to get a second shot. I don't know, but Whittaker, he's made his stake in this division. He's had some awesome fights, awesome title defenses, had a long run as the champ. So he definitely does deserve it. I'm not saying he doesn't, but in terms of seeing, who should be next, Whittaker's in the conversation, but I think I'd kind of like to see how Vettori plays out.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Although I do think that rematches always go different. I know you can tell me about the Cody and the TJ, right? Kind of same old song and dance there, but Whittaker is someone, right? We've seen him overcome some absolute monsters in this division, like Yoel Romero, not once but twice. I know a little controversy in one of them, but like I said before, do I think he can beat him again? No, but do I think it could be a great fight, like a Gastelum type fight? Oh, 100%. Because Whittaker has that dog in him that I think that he can give Izzy his toughest fight yet, like a Gastelum fight, like a Vettori fight that he's already had. But I agree with you. I think Vettori should be next up. He deserves it. 5-fight winning streak. I know he didn't beat the best man up next, but that's not on him. Till pulled out. He got his win, showcased his skills, and showcased that he's an absolute dog on the ground, and he's going to ground pound you all night. So Whittaker Gastelum, going to be a good one. Tune in UFC Vegas 24, ESPN Plus. Go watch that shit. What else we got, buddy?
Just the McGregor Poirier news that was coming out yesterday.
Yes.
Twitter fight that they were having.
Yes. So apparently Conor calls off the fight in July. Poirier calls him out for not paying his $500K donation, which is just such a bad look for Conor. I was confused because originally I thought that Dustin tweeted out that the transaction already went through and like everyone was praising Conor. So I was confused on that. I don't know if this is for show, if this is to build up the fight. Conor's calling him an inbred hillbilly. He's going off on him, sending memes, doing all this. Dustin's taking pictures of him knocked out. It is hilarious. I think this is just selling the fight even more. Conor now saying the fight's off, which obviously is bullshit. He's saying there's going to be a sweepstakes for whoever wants to fight me on July 10th. I don't think that fight's in any danger. I think this is all just building up to be the biggest trilogy ever, because it's going to be wild. But I don't know. What do you think on the whole situation?
Yeah, I don't think the fight's off. I don't think
it's already signed.
Yeah, I like you said. I mean, trying to sell the fight. I honestly don't. I guess I don't really understand like the whole calling each other out over Twitter, but other than to sell the fight, that's the only way. That's the only way that only motive I see in that. I don't think that there's real ill will between the two of them, but who knows? I get just speculating.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, again, going to be the biggest trilogy in the history of the sport. So I'm just excited for that to come down. I can't wait till they introduce kind of the rest of the card there. I'm assuming they're probably going to stack that up. So I am fired up, but great fights last weekend. Great fights this weekend coming up. UFC 261 right around the corner, April 24th. Not one, not two, 3 title fights. Jorge Masvidal taking on Kamaru Usman, and number 2, the rematch. I cannot wait for that one, guys. So we'll get into that next week. But until then, go to our website, flatlinedmma.com. Go buy some merch. All your Flatline needs. View our blogs. Go to our Instagram. We're blowing up 15,600 followers on Instagram. Thanks for all the likes. Thanks for all the reposts, the shares, whatever you guys are doing. Our tweets, go blow up our tweets, go retweet, whatever you got to do there. Thank you guys for letting us blow up here. Click that subscribe button on YouTube. We're trying to blow up this channel. We're trying to give you guys bigger, better, badder content all around. Love you guys. And until next time, Flatline MMA. Peace.